All right. We are live now on the South Florida Tech Podcast. My name is Joe Russo. Welcome. This is a weekly show where we bring you the awesome, innovative people building our South Florida tech community. Each week on the South Florida Tech Podcast, we'll introduce you to one of the Sunshine State's top tech leaders, learn more about who they are, what they do, and have some fun conversation along the way. This podcast is, of course, presented by the South Florida Tech Association, a nonprofit dedicated to building South Florida into a tech hub. I'm your host, Joe Russo, President and CEO. And this is actually a first of hopefully many, but we have a co-host today, Joanna Mikola, the CEO and co-founder of WinCode Academy. Joe, introduce yourself for us and tell us briefly about WinCode.
Super excited to be here. Really excited to be co-hosting. Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, I'm the CEO and co-founder of WinCode Academy. We are training software developers and UX UI product designers in South Florida and beyond. Thank you, COVID, for giving us the national market that has been the silver lining and connecting companies with the tech talent that they need.
So we got Joe and Joe coming at you live today.
Right.
And we're going to have a fun conversation. Want to give a shout out, of course, to our sponsor and our friends over at Emerge Americas. Each year, global enterprises, disruptive technology, and elite startups are highlighted at Emerge's premier tech event, Connecting the Americas. It's held in Miami Beach and to date has hosted organizations from over 40 countries and featured over 250 speakers around the world. Emerge Americas is really doing their part to build South Florida into a tech hub. And thank you to their entire team over there for supporting our podcast. Really appreciate all that support. So today on our podcast, we're really excited to have an accomplished technology entrepreneur, Manish Hirapara, the CEO of Peak Activity, on with us today. They're a technology and marketing consulting firm based here in Palm Beach County. He moved to South Florida at a young age. He went to Palm Beach County Public Schools and he earned his bachelor's degree magna cum laude from UCF. So, already started off on a really good path in his career. In 2007, he went into the entrepreneurial sector and founded a software company in Jacksonville focusing on transforming business through technology. But then he decided to move back to South Florida, and he was the director of e-commerce for Office Depot, overseeing a e-commerce platform that transacted over $7 billion in revenue worldwide. That is a big number. In 2015, though, Manish went back into the entrepreneurial world and founded Peak Activity, where he helps enterprises achieve some long-term scalable growth through better insights, superior talent, and game-changing technology. He also sits on the alumni board for UCF and is chair of our CEO peer group here at our organization, and is overall just a fantastic guy who's got some really awesome team members. Manish, thank you so much for joining our podcast today.
Thank you both for having me. It's an honor.
So, of course, like any podcast, we'd love to just start off and have you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we'll take the conversation from there.
Sure, absolutely. We'd love to tell you just a little bit about the company. We are just celebrating our 5th year anniversary, so congrats to South Florida Tech on their anniversary. We're just a couple of weeks behind you in our journey. And overall, we have 5 practice areas. As you mentioned, Joe, our goal is to help businesses scale using technology, using digital techniques, using marketing. And so we've got 5 practice areas that we focus on: web and e-commerce, my background in e-commerce at Office Depot, like you mentioned, bringing that large scale experience of don't just go it alone, bring the experts with you. We have a group focused on digital marketing. We have a group focused on custom technology, mobile solutions, mobile apps, enterprise mobile apps. And finally, we're really excited about innovation and emerging technology. We're doing a lot in augmented reality and computer vision, looking at machine learning and really trying to grasp what's going to be the next wave of things 2, 3, 5 years out, and launching those into the market today, and really excited about some of the things we've got going on. And I think you've had some of our team members in the augmented reality space on one of your other podcasts, but really that's where the game is going to change, and we're excited to be part of it.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, so 5 years, wow. Like, it sounds like you guys have accomplished so much in such a short amount of time. Just like does 5 years feel long to you, or does it feel like it just got started?
It feels like 15 minutes. It's amazing that it's been 5 years. It literally, you snap your fingers. And the irony is my youngest son was born just a few months before, and he just turned 5. So I always have this barometer of my son's having a birthday, the company's going to have a birthday. So it really is a blink of an eye. Just like kids grow up fast, companies grow up fast as well.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It's also super interesting, your background, that you went from entrepreneur to corporate back to entrepreneur. I'd want to hear like a little bit more about that. Like, what was that experience like? And what was the thought process? Like, how do you decide as an entrepreneur to go to corporate? How do you decide to go back as an entrepreneur?
Well, it's somewhat what life brings you, right? And I started a company in 2007. We actually bought another company in 2008, and then the market really collapsed, right? And so a lot of the business at the time was struggling. I chose to go back intentionally. I was living in North Florida. I had moved to North Florida to start this company, and I wanted to move back to South Florida. So naturally, it was one of those things where going back into corporate, people who I already had strong connections with and was able to go back into. But I think to answer your question, you always bring that entrepreneurial streak. I think there's a real world concept called entrepreneurship, and I was always labeled that guy who's breaking the rules inside of a company as well, and starting new businesses and doing the things that entrepreneurs do, right? And so you find a way to innovate. You find a way to bring that entrepreneurial spirit to your teams, whether it's a big company or a small company. Everyone can have that ability to be an entrepreneur, depending on context, or it doesn't matter what your role is. You have the ability to create something at all points in time.
Yeah. So just quickly, do you think being an entrepreneur before and then going into Office Depot, like, do you think that contributed to your success there, or what is it about the two environments that contributed to your success as an entrepreneur and also being part of a bigger company and team?
They both build you up and give you the education that you need. If you only do one and not the other, you're missing a perspective. We work with a lot of enterprises. Having been on the side that they're evaluating companies like ourselves or technologies, I understand what the mindset is. And when I was working and evaluating vendors, when I was at Office Depot, I understood what the entrepreneur stood for as well. So having that perspective, really both sides, was invaluable. I feel like I really recommend anybody that can try to work in companies of all different sizes. Try to start your own thing. Try to work in a small company. Try to work in a large company, because you'll understand how business really works when you have that broad perspective.
Yeah, I can totally relate. I worked for the NHL for close to 10 years, and sports, it's sports, it's glamorous, but it's also very corporate. It's big business. So yeah, I totally agree. I feel like the stuff I learned in corporate gave me perspective and also gave me some great mentors even now. So I totally agree with that. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I'm always amazed by, we talked a little bit about going from corporate, going to entrepreneurship, but like to build a company like you have in the last 5 years is really amazing. And I think the last time we were together, right before COVID, you gave me a book and I feel like you're one of those guys who's constantly learning, building, reading, trying to be better. But what is that entrepreneurial journey like for you, outside of the company, outside of the office, but you as Manish, how do you build yourself in the best entrepreneur that you can be?
Yeah, I think we have an adage here, which is never stop learning, never stop growing. If you ever read Jeff Bezos' letter to shareholders, it's either you're growing or you're going to stasis or you're dying, right? And outside of work, it's all about learning. It's all about continuously getting educated on, whether it's a book on a topic that's into the business world, or a book that is completely different. You read about ant colonies and how they scale and understand how that relates to businesses scaling. I mean, there's a lot of perspective, but I'm a big reader. I'm a big podcast listener. I like to make sure that I'm consuming as many points of view and as much information as possible. And you've got to think about things. I feel like critical thinking is one of those skills that sometimes gets forgotten about. If you can critically think, sit down and do some deep thinking for example, Bill Gates takes a think week. He just goes by himself off to a cabin in a remote place and thinks for a week. Those types of things are really, really important for entrepreneurs. It's not just about moving and being scrappy and hustling. Those are all great characteristics, but it's also take some time to be strategic. And if you can, you're going to be much more successful.
Yeah, it's so interesting. When we joined the Endeavor Network, one of the biggest mentors there, he talked to us. I'll never forget. He was like, make sure, I want to do a think week. It's like re-inspiring me on this. He was like, make sure that 10% of every day is just spent in thought. And if you do the math, like, whether you're working an 8 or a 10 or a 12-hour day, to carve out as an entrepreneur, especially if you're like an operator founder, 10% of your day to think, you have to be so disciplined to do it. I find it like very aspirational.
Yeah, you just get into the deep end.
It's tough to do.
So speak of, we hit on this before, but Peak Activity celebrating 5-year anniversary, you're Inc. 5000, you're in Grow FL's Companies to Watch. What has been the biggest contributor to the success of Peak Activity?
Simply, it's the people we've got, right? I'd love to say it has something to do with me. It might, but the fact that we've got great leaders within our company, we've got great experts that come from multiple industries and multiple walks of life. It's all in the people that you surround yourself with, right? And I'm always about trying to find my team of people that are smarter than I and more experienced than I. And when you do that, you see a lot more success than when you try to go yourself. And so I'm super fortunate, and I've got a great leadership team. I've got a great organization of team members that really do everything they can and more for our customers. And just by taking the high road, by doing the right things, it all falls into place, right?
How have you guys been able to I totally agree, by the way, like team is everything. How have you been able to build the team in South Florida? Like, where do you find the talent? Has it been a challenge? Has it not been a challenge?
It's always a challenge, no matter what. We're actually fortunate, and we're based in South Florida, but we were virtual before being virtual was cool, right? So we adapted Slack on day one. We've got the whole G Suite of products. We were always ready for people anywhere. We've got team members in San Diego. We've got team members in South Carolina and Orlando. We're all about leverage the people that you've got to get to the next group of people. And so whenever we hire somebody, they know more people from wherever they came from or where they've been. And there's always an eye for the next level of talent. Who you keep even a mental list of who are the next group of hires that we think are going to be the right fit for our culture, the right fit for the overall organization. And we've been fortunate enough to grow by referral. A lot of our hiring has been referral. We've done some recruiting. We have an in-house sort of talent group because our customers are always in need of talent as well. So we added a recruiter on staff several years ago. We've been in the talent acquisition space, so we're always keeping an eye on where talent is and where it's moving, because once you take your finger off that pulse, you're not going to be able to scale and grow as rapidly as you are. So it's always a challenge, but we keep on it, and it's part of our strategy to always have a pool available to us as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's a great strategy. It's almost like, in sales, like keeping leads warm, like you kind of like keep that pool going. Maybe just going back to the milestones, huge congrats on the Inc. List. That's awesome. And all the other accolades. That's always like, it's super awesome. I'm always like, it's so great to like see other founders doing so well. But I wonder, because I know that this is kind of like a fault of most founders, is have you celebrated those milestones? How are you celebrating those milestones? Or do you hit the milestone and you're like just looking at the next goalpost?
Well, for some people, it's about the journey. Some people, it's about the destination. We actually had our 5th year anniversary was last Thursday, and we had an hour-long celebration of the event. And we actually, the background behind me, we unveiled what we call Peak Activity 2.0. And our our company is going to be much different in the next 5 years than it was in the previous 5 years. And so we're intentionally thinking about it and celebrating our successes. It's always one of those things, Joe, that you always think about as, okay, well, I got there, but did I really get there or not? And as an entrepreneur, you're always looking for the next thing. You're always thinking about trying to think 2 or 3 steps ahead. But we did take a moment to pause and say, wow, okay, well, if nothing else, we've accomplished something at this point, and let's not rest on our laurels, but let's absolutely enjoy our success when we can. So, unfortunately, we can't do it in person, but at some point we will.
Yeah, totally. So if looking back, like what would you say to date are like the top 2 biggest milestones you guys have hit so far? Or even for you personally?
I look, yeah, when we first started, any entrepreneur starts, we had just a couple of people. When we crossed 100 people, that were all, we call ourselves peaksters. When we crossed 100 peaksters, it was like, wow, there's 100 lives that we've now, plus their families that are dependent on us and depend on the success of the company. And we're now getting close to that 200 number. And then, just looking at that, to me, the 5-year mark is actually something of consequence, because a lot of companies don't make it past year 1 or year 3. And the fact that we've made it, and it's a testament to really our customers. I always just say, look, our customers and our team, that's what it is. We do the right things for our customer, and our customers and our teams do it. And so there's no 1 or 2 just, oh, wow, we got over X million in revenue or things like that were just moments. But I think you look at it accretively over the 5 years, and it's like, wow, okay, this is pretty cool.
So speak of, you're 5 years into it, but what's the vision for Peak now? Like, where's the next 5 years taking you?
It's interesting where we're sort of at this crossroads. We're doing a great job with our customers in e-commerce. We're doing a great job in digital marketing. We're doing a great job in tech. I have always, when I started my previous company and we sold it off, it was a software company. I've always had the idea that you should be always thinking about the next 2 or 3 things that you could potentially launch, right? And for us, we call them loon shots. They're crazy ideas that we fuel with the sort of engine we've got. We've got software developers, we've got UX, we've got product managers, we've got these people who have great ideas. And so how do we take those ideas and, almost in a Shark Tank like way, pick the ones that are going to be the best, the brightest, and launch them potentially as new companies in the world? So very much like you would see, say, an Alphabet, which is Google's parent, right, launching self-driving cars. That's what I see for Peak Activity is experimenting and tinkering with new ideas. We've actually launched, we're going to launch publicly our e-commerce platform, which is the next generation set of technologies that help support e-commerce systems. We're launching that, and we're launching some game-changing mobile solutions over the next few years. We're looking at the augmented reality space, and so for Peak Activity, it's going to be continue to do the things that got us here and do them really well, being operationally excellent. But it's also going to be innovative, trailblazing. What are the things that we can do that are the next generation of technology ideas or marketing technology ideas, and think about every day being a new day, and every day being a new opportunity for us to continue to accelerate the pace of innovation in tech.
It sounds like, I mean, wow, like 5 years and you've scaled to 100 employees, and it sounds like the product and service offering has also grown a lot. Is there just like to learn from your journey, like, is there anything you would say, like looking back on scaling your team and then scaling, what the services you offer, like what would be like some pitfalls, if you look back, you'd be like, oh, I wouldn't do it that way again, or challenges or pitfalls that, people can try to avoid? Although some of them are destined.
Yeah, some of those are lessons you're going to learn along the way. I think it's one of those things where it goes back to the Think Week conversation, Joe, where you've got to think through some of the decisions. Entrepreneurs by nature sometimes are hasty, impulsive, decisive, and those are all great traits. sometimes you get yourself into a mess that takes a lot more to get out of than it does to get into. And sometimes you've got to take a step back to move 2 steps forward. And really looking back on the past 5 years, we've been fortunate that we haven't had major blunders, but we've had our fair share of lessons learned and things along the way. I just think for an entrepreneur, for anybody who is scaling a business, sometimes you do have to just call time out, and to use a sports analogy, call time out, regroup for 2 minutes and say, all right, we are where we are, where do we need to go? And the one thing I always say is really try it with the market in mind. So get your customers, get your audience, get your beta users on a product to really give you that feedback. The faster you can get customers giving you feedback, the faster you can scale a business. And I also look at the growth we've had in terms of our practices being part of the hiring strategy. I don't think I would have ever gotten into the digital marketing space, but I hired some spectacular talent that understood it really well, and they were able to take it and run with it themselves. So it all, you want the agility and the ability to pivot, but also make sure it is truly your core and your mission as well.
So yeah, super interesting.
Yeah. And I want to pivot a little bit here because we talked a lot about business for a moment, but on the tail end of this podcast, I always like to make it a little bit more lighter. But tell us about peak care. It seems like that's an important part of the culture you're trying to create there, and getting your team engaged. But tell us a little bit about what that is and what you guys do with that. Yeah,
so our core values are really important, and any company that sets their core values and really lives them is going to be much more successful. They often say that the CEO is not in charge of the company, the core values are. And really living our core values, part of that is we need to be involved in the community. We need to be giving back to the community. And we created the Peak Cares program to enable our Peaksters to participate in things like Habitat for Humanity, to figure out where are the community needs that we've got and be engaged and giving back as much as possible. So my good friend Andrew Koenig is the chair of the Broward Heart Walk for next year, and our job is to support them as much as possible. So we created a program where it's not just Manish is supporting Andrew and City Furniture on the Broward Heart Walk and the American Heart Association, but it's really all 150 plus of our employees are going to rally around it and really believe in the cause and get it moved forward, because the power of the community and the team coming together and the families of our team members and the connections through the power of social media of our team members, raising thousands of dollars for a great cause is a lot easier. And so we believe in using that grassroots community-based building and giving back at all times. And that's one of our principal tenets as a company. And so we founded an organization. We might be a little premature. We're still an upstart growing company. But if you look at all of the major corporations in South Florida, they all have a group that is a philanthropic arm that is engaged with the community. And well, if you're gonna be like the best, you got to emulate the best. And that's where we formed this Peak Cares program to say, let's do what we can, because it's not just about getting to a destination or getting to an Inc. 5000 list. I'd rather us talking about our group raising the money that we did for the American Heart Association, or doing a Habitat for Humanity CEO build, and things like that. Those are more important in life, in my opinion, than the awards and the recognition that you can get as a company.
Yeah. And on that point too, what do you like to do on the weekend when you're at home, you're with the family? Like, what do you do to get away from being in the monotony of work all the time and just try and reconnect with the world around you?
Whatever his 5-year-old decides.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's my kids rule the roost for sure. Whatever we can. I actually have 4 children, and so they keep me pretty busy. I have one day when this is all said and done, my dream is to become a master gardener and just be outside tending to my plants and experimenting with things. I wish I had more time to do it now, but one day that'll come. And I actually really enjoy cooking. My my third child tells me I'm the greatest chef in the world. So just based on that, I can enjoy creating things, because especially being a tech guy like I am, I feel like people, the left brain, the right brain, right? The ability to cook is, I'm not artsy at all. I can't draw, I can't paint, but I can make a pretty darn good meal, and that is the expression of just grabbing some ingredients, putting them together, and all of a sudden you whip something up. So those are my things that I do, Joe's make sure the kids are fed, but at least they're trying some new things while they do it.
What are you making? If you're going to make something this weekend, what's your go-to?
Yeah, we should post this recipe, the Manish.
Yeah, I don't have a go-to. I am really one of those people who I'll go to like the Italian market, and I'll be like, oh, here's some scallops, and here's some grits, and here's some pancetta, and we're just gonna put it all together and figure out how it goes. I wish I had one go-to recipe, but it's really, I'm one of those where I'm not gonna plan ahead. I'm just gonna figure out what I got, and I could probably grade on one of those 30-minute shows where you just kind of get dumped a basket of ingredients and put it together. That's my thing. My wife hates it, but
we got to get you on Food Network.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, we're not done yet, but before we finish up, we wanted to do a few rapid fire questions to get your input on the spot. So I like this because you already said that, so welcome to the rapid fire round officially. I like that you said you're an avid reader. So the first question is, what is the book on your nightstand right now?
I don't have the book on my nightstand, but I do have How to Win Friends. You can't see it on here, but How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, sitting right here at my desk. I believe on my nightstand is a book called Measure What Matters by John Doerr, which is a book on goal setting in the organization. So the two business books. And I've got one book that I'm slowly reading called Sapiens, which is about humans. So those are the three books I'm on right now.
What's the last fiction novel you read?
I'm a big Carl Hiaasen guy and Tim Dorsey guy, who are both Florida authors. They are really great Florida authors. The last one I read was Tim Dorsey. I don't remember the name of the book, but it was just they traversed the state doing some random crazy things. So I love the two of those authors.
What is the most productive time of day for you?
Usually it is either the morning, very early in the morning. And I probably the first hour and a half, I can get some things done. Or it's the late evening, like past 9 o'clock. Just it's a little bit of a catch up, but it's also, okay, everything kind of the world gets restored by then.
The bookends and no meetings. Okay, so time you go to bed?
Sorry, say that again.
On average, time you usually go to bed?
10:30.
Time 11. You wake up?
6.
And what also, I like this because you mentioned that you listen to podcasts. What's your favorite podcast?
Akimbo by Seth Godin is my favorite one right now.
Awesome. And is there a motto in life that you live by?
I don't live by a specific motto, but I do believe in creating a legacy and making sure that you're not living with regrets as well. But I always put family first, and legacy and doing the right things are all important.
Awesome. Well done, Joe. Rapid fire. And last question for you, Manish. What advice would you give to aspiring technology professionals and tech leaders in South Florida?
I think this is the hardest question you got, Joe.
You only got 2 minutes. It's okay.
Yeah, we got 2 minutes. So great. The biggest thing is tech is going to change. Things come and go. Businesses change. Everything changes. Change is constant. I think establishing your skills, establishing the fundamental skills beyond. So don't just learn a programming language, but learn how to actually program, whether it's in React or whether it's in Scala or in Java or anything like that. Understand the basics and understand the fundamentals. And then always think about the end user, right? Think about the customer. Think about the context of which you're putting technology in. It's great to build apps, but it's even greater if users are loving what you're building. So that sort of fanatical thought process around, if I'm building a product company, who are my beta users going to be? Are they going to be ranting and raving about it? If I'm building a software for a big enterprise, don't just build software, but build awesome software, or implement awesome hardware. And just think about that business benefit. Every business I've had has been about using technology to transform business. And if you're a technologist, think about transforming business as best as you can. And that will make the world of difference in quality.
Transform the business. Love it.
Transform the business.
So with that, Manish, thank you so much for being on the podcast and being a part of the South Florida tech community, doing everything that you do. For those that want to join Manish, be a part of our organization, you can go to southfloridatech.com and learn more. Would love to continue building the community with everybody who's listening and being part of this. Shout out to our producing sponsors at Media Ops, the premier global media platform for technical communities with brands such as DevOps.com, Security Boulevard, Container Journal. Shout out to Alan and Brian over there for helping us out. Kudos. And of course, thank you to Joe for joining me as a co-host here today. And of course, Manish, our guest, for coming on and spending some time with us. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. And I can't wait until, Manish, we can all go to dinner and you can cook us a good meal.
Thank you, Joe and Joe. Appreciate it.
Thank
All right. See you guys.
Bye-bye.